Thanks so much for the intro from the studio. I want to welcome all of our guests to the Wampanoag home site at Plimoth, Patuxet, here in beautiful Plymouth, Massachusetts. We're here to celebrate the rich culture, history, and vibrant story of the Wampanoag people who have lived in southeastern Massachusetts for over 12,000 years. Their ongoing story is one that is integral to the history as well as the current social landscape of the region and our country. Where I'm standing now is part of a living museum that brings some of the Wampanoag traditions to life. Hi, Tim. So nice to see you.
Hi, Sierra. Nice to meet you. Want to go down and take a look at a few things?
Absolutely. Everyone, Tim Turner. He's here. He's going to share some of his insights and expertise on the Wampanoag culture. Tim, we have to talk about this structure here. This layered bark is amazing. Like, how does this come to be?
Yeah, the house is called a nashwichu, which means it's a house of 3 fires. So in the dead of winter, this house would have 3 fires burning in it to keep it nice and warm. This home would have been about a mile or so inland in a wooded valley protected from the trees. And this is a really small winter home. This one's only about 30 feet long. In the time period, Wampanoag people made houses that were over 100 feet long and could fit 5 families, 50 or 60 people in one house. And Wampanoag people were matrilineal, matrilocal people. And so when you married, or when I married as a man, I married into my wife's village and outside of mine, because everybody that was in my village was related to me by my wife. The way we make it, we first make it by constructing the framework, and that's made out of cedar. Cedar is bug resistant and it's rot resistant, and it lasts a really long time. This frame will last at least 10 years. And then we take the tree bark and we put that on, and we start at the bottom, just like you shingle the side of a building, and you work your way all the way around, overlapping it. And then we drill through the bark, and we attach a sapling from the outside to the inside, right through the bark. And we use the bark from the cedar poles themselves. We separate it, and we boil it in a lye, which is wood, ash, and water, and that strengthens the bark. And then we use it wet. And when it dries, it constricts. So it's like the bark is sandwiched between 2 frames. So we start at the bottom, work our way all the way around the house, and then the next layer overlaps that all the way around, all the way up to the top of the house.
And I really just love how it just seamlessly blends in with the environment. It's not invasive at all.
Yeah, so after about 10 years, your house is beginning to rot. Probably cut loose all your saplings, let the bark fall down, and actually would go back into the earth. So it's very natural.
It's very, like I said, just very intentional.
You want to go inside?
Yes, absolutely.
Go right in.
Wow, so neat.
Sierra, this is Darius Coombs.
Welcome, Sierra. Welcome to our nashwichu.
Thank you so much for inviting us to share this time with you. We are here with Darius Coombs and his daughters. Darius is a Mashpee Wampanoag and the director of Wampanoag and Algonquian interpretive training at Plimoth, Patuxet for over 30 years. Darius, I would love to hear you tell me more about the timeline of Wampanoag history from pre-contact to today.
Sure, Sierra. We've been here for over 12,000 years, right?
Yeah.
Pretty long time, huh?
Yeah.
For us as Wampanoag people being here 12,000 years, we probably numbered over 100,000 people around Massachusetts and parts of Rhode Island. And amongst that area, you're probably looking at about 70 different communities, right? And where you're at today, what is called Plymouth, is what we call Patuxet. And if you're traveling like you are today, And if I lived back then, if I was from here, and you came up to me and said, hey, Darius, what are you? I would say I'm a Patuxet. I would expect you to know this is Wampanoag country. We celebrate seasonal moon cycles, which is called a 13-moon cycle, which is a full year. So we celebrate first in our New Year's, and our New Year's is in the springtime, and that just makes sense. We have a big celebration. We dance, we sing like all cultures around the world doing their New Year's. So you think about it, right? That's when everything comes to life.
Yes.
That's when the birds start chirping. That's when the fish start running upstream. So everything's fresh again. We give thanks to Mother Earth. We give thanks to the Creator for having another year. Our history has always been spoken. Our stories have always been passed down from generation to generation. Who they pass it down to are the ones to my right and to my left, are the little ones, right?
Right.
My daughter Storm to my right, and my daughter Tashma to my left. They would take on those stories, but they would also be playing games, you know. This right here is a deerskin ball. It's made out of deerskin stuffed with deer here. And they might be playing like a soccer rugby game on the beach. Pass it, throw it. They might also be dancing, singing. They'll mainly have fun, but like Tashma over here, what are you doing today, Tashma?
I'm making some wampum earrings made from quahog shell.
And what do we have over here?
Making a deerskin hair tie for my hair.
Storm, you want to show what the hair tie looks like?
Yeah, I
After
just
you're done?
made my first pair.
And so after you get them like that, you just...
Put my hair in a braid and put it around.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
So that's what we do during spring and summer. Now, come fall and winter, we want to get away from the ocean. It gets really cold around here, it gets really windy, and that's when we move inland into homes like you just came into, right? We use a fire for a lot of purposes. Like this house, we have 3 fire pits, so it could be, we have 3 fires inside if we want to. And the fires are used for light for the house. They use to keep you warm in the winter. For us as a culture, most of our life is spent outside. You normally cook, you eat, you bathe. But today we're cooking outside. It's a nice day, right?
Yes.
And then what we're cooking is duck. We're cooking duck over one of our boats. We're making what we call a mashoon, which is a boat made out of a log burnt out. So we're gonna be burning out the boat and also roasting a duck on top of that.
That is going to be delicious.
Hopefully you're hungry, Sarah.
Oh, I'm hungry. For that, I'm hungry.
Excellent.
Are you ready to head outside?
Yes, I am. Tim, can you tell me a little bit about the horticultural practices of the Wampanoag?
Yeah, the Wampanoag have been planting for about 3,000 to 5,000 years. They grew about 70% of their diet, and growing the crops would have been a woman's responsibility in the time period because she was a life giver or life sustainer. We grow in a mound because the sun will hit a mound at any point during the day, keeping the ground consistently warm. There's 4 corn. We plant those first. When they get about a hand high, we'll plant beans and squashes. Corn takes nitrogen out of the soil. Beans put nitrogen back in. The corn stalks are there for the beans to wrap around, and the squashes have large leaves that shade the mound and keep the moisture in, and they have vines on them with prickers to keep out the soft pod animals. So it's companion planting. They all plant or grow very well together.
Tell me a little bit more about this structure that we see here.
So that's a corn watch tower. That's where you'd see really young girls go up and they'd play with their dolls and they'd scream and yell and they'd scare all the birds out of the garden. So they're like human scarecrows in the time period.
That's so great. We're along the water here. Is that intentional? Does that have any significance to how you all plant and crop?
Yeah, so the Wampanoag would move out along the rivers and streams out by the ocean. So being out here along the rivers for fishing and the groundwater will help irrigate the crops.
Well, after hearing about all of these ingredients, I'm gonna go meet up with Melvin to talk about some fishing and things, and I know you're gonna stick around to talk to our guests to answer any questions that they might have. So let's head back to our co-host in the studio. the existential threat of climate change, I find it so inspiring how the Wampanoag continue to be so connected with nature. You all have such a high level of respect for what nature can give us. Can you tell me more about that connectivity?
The fundamental practice that we belong to the earth. The earth does not belong to us. That everything we do has a reaction. So if we put positive energy out into the world, positive things will come back to us. Negative, you'll get the same results. It's the symbiotic relationship we have with nature. We depend on it. It depends on us. I depend on all the fish to succeed, all the plants, all the trees, and all the birds to succeed because I need them. We can't take more than we need, and anything that we do leave has to be in benefit to those that follow us.
I couldn't agree more. Looks so nice. What are you preparing here?
So over here I'm actually making a vegetable soup. I was actually just cutting some squash to add in.
Wow.
So my aunt actually taught me these recipes and dancing also.
It looks so good. Great catch, Melvin.
Good.
I'm gonna go see what Tim and Darius are up to. I'll catch you two later.
Bye.
Okay.
Hey, Lana, how you doing? Good. You putting the ducks on, huh?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I could smell you were roasting some game here, but now it looks like you're doing something a lot more. Darius, can you tell me what you and Tim are doing here? This looks like a canoe.
It is what we call a mishoon. Mishoon means boat in our language. It will be at least, and this is how we're making it, by burning out the inside of a log. So you let fire do the work for you. You light the log on fire, you let it burn down, then you scrape the inside out. So no chopping, no carving, no chiseling. It's all burning and scraping. You can burn a whole log at once. You can't chop a whole log at once.
True.
You can burn 24 hours a day. You can't chop 24 hours a day. And if you want to get this done quickly, you probably get it done in about 2 weeks. Burning all day, all night, burning and scraping, burning and scraping. You burn down to about the widest point of the log. And once you get down to the widest point, that's when you focus on the inside itself. You're going to get the sides really thin up top, probably about 1 inch thick. And as you go down to the bottom, you always get thicker. You always want the bottom thicker than the sides, and that will force a natural keel out in the water, so you have natural stability. Now, what you scrape it with, you can use stone adzes, which are stone scraping tools, or you can use quahog shells.
Okay.
Which is a brackish shell you're gonna find out in the ocean that goes in rivers.
Okay.
We eat the food of the quahog. The shell we make beads into, right? Earrings. But we also use them as scraping tools. We scrape out the charcoal, right? You scrape all that out, and what you have is that.
Wow.
So it cleans the boat. It's easier scraping out the inside than chopping, so.
Tell me, what is the typical size of a Mashoon?
It ranges size anywhere from a 1-man to 40-man boat, you know. Our smallest boat would be a 9-foot for 1 man. The biggest ones that we know are around here will carry about 40 men. And how you would pick these trees out to make a boat, for one, they have to be near water, right? So you go out to the woods near a river, so you wouldn't have to carry it too far. So you select a nice straight tree, either white pine or chestnut, right? And once you select a tree near the river, you take clay from the riverbeds and pack it about 8 foot above the trunk of the tree. Then you build a fire underneath it, and that way the fire will not extend up the tree. And the tree burns down. And as the tree's burning down, you shape your end. You burn off the other end and shape the other end. So in actuality, before you even start burning the inside out, your ends would have been completed, okay? I always tell people you have to put yourself back in time, right? And we had trees around here over 150 foot in height and over 6 foot wide.
You're right.
So it would not have been unusual seeing those types of boats going out to Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard Island. Now, there's 3 different ways of moving this boat, right? You can paddle it out in the water. You can pole it along the shore. Or you can sail it out in the ocean. We have 3 different recordings of these boats being sailed out to Nantucket Island, and Nantucket's 25 miles off of Cape Cod. I myself and a few others made a trip a few years back over to Martha's Vineyard Island in these boats. We left a place on Cape Cod, everybody's heard of Cape Cod, a place called Woods Hole, and we paddled over the Tisbury on the Vineyard, which was a 7-mile paddle, and that took us an hour and a half to do. And that was the first time that trip was done in about 200 years also.
Now, I saw that humongous Mashoon over yonder.
Yes.
Is it true that that can fit 10 people?
We'll see. It's going to hold maybe 10, 12, 15. We won't know for sure until we get it in the water. But like I say, we had them big enough to carry 40. And the boat you saw is 46 foot long and weighed 14,000 pounds once we got it here. It's 142 years old. So it's going to be a big one. It's probably one of the biggest boats that's been made around this area in probably about 200 years. And it's going to see water really soon. And the idea, once it sees water, these boats never see land again. You would either have the boats dragged on the shore, and what we do in the fall and winter is we put large rocks inside the boats, and we sink them in the rivers. And the reason we sink them is because no oxygen can get to the wood, so the wood will not rot. We've actually found boats in the mud that date back close to 1,000 years.
Wow, that's an amazing technique.
Yeah. That's the way you do it, the way you preserve it. And you don't want to move these around too much, you know? This one right here is going to weigh probably about, I don't know, 500, 600 pounds once it's done. So it's not made to be tossed on your back and brought around.
Right.
But these dugouts were probably the most common boat you would have seen in the Americas, period, being South, Central, and North America.
About a Mashoon that you guys made like this for the Smithsonian. Could you tell me about that?
Yeah, we're Smithsonian affiliated. We made a 16-foot Mashoon boat like you see here for the National Museum of the American Indian. We went down there and we saw a circle of boats in the museum from the Americas, but we did not see the most common type of boat you would have seen in the Americas, which is a dugout. At that time, we were making boats like this for over 40 years. And since we're affiliated, we wrote them, say, we'd like a donation. We'll make it right here at the Wampanoag home site. And they said, yeah, of course we do. So we made a 16-footer, and we brought it down to Washington, D.C.
It's got to be an incredible honor.
It is. It's not just a boat for our people, right? It's a boat that recognizes there are still people here. Because you think of east of the Mississippi River, a lot of people don't realize Native people are still living out here. They think of west of the Mississippi River. And we haven't gone anywhere. As I was saying before, we've been here for over 12,000 years and we plan on staying for a while.
Well, I just want to thank you two from the bottom of my heart for sharing so much of your wealth of knowledge about the Wampanoag way, traditions, culture, all of it. I think I speak on behalf of everyone when I say I'm leaving today with an even higher amount of respect and honor towards the Wampanoag traditions and the role you all play in our country. I'm going to send it back to our studio where our co-host, with the help of Tim, will be fielding all of your questions. Plus, I happen to know that Tim has a special segment in store. So without further ado, take it away, team.